PCA Sim Racing Series. This week we are going to be talking about the GT4 at Mid-Ohio, specifically the Mid-Ohio configuration with the chicane off the first front straightaway. Not a very popular or often run track configuration, but that's what we're doing. So for anybody that is not up to date, we will be running zone group mini series across the entire PCA spectrum, and the zone group that I represent is the Central Zone Group, and we will have a 5-race mini series, which will consist of multi-class racing, both the GT4 Club Sport that we see here and also the 911 Cup car. We'll be racing on 5 tracks, and the first track is Mid-Ohio, starting November 17th. So this track walk is to just try to get people up to speed on Mid-Ohio, and make sure we have at least a solid foundation. I've chosen the GT4 car just because it is probably the one that may have the drivers that have that would this track walk would benefit the most. So there we go. So as I have done in previous track walks, I will play one lap of the GT4 around the Mid-Ohio, so you can kind of get an idea of the speed and the general line, and then we will go in to see turn by turn some of the ideas and breaking points that we're looking for to get around Mid-Ohio. So without further ado, here is the lap. I will put it in cockpit mode so you can see what it looks like from the driver's position. So here we go. So there we go. That was a lap of Mid-Ohio with the chicane and the Porsche GT4 Club Sport MR. We're going to bring the camera out to the third person car. So we'll do chase, and we'll use this as a kind of a reference point, or as a way to look at how the car tackles the track and things to see. So a couple of notes about setup and car for the PCA Mini Central Zone Championship that we're doing, that I alluded to before. We will be running a baseline setup, so the iRacing baseline setup in the GT4, which is what I have run in the car currently for this particular lap. So we can kind of see what's going on. Also, the time of day we're going to be running at noon, so the track is going to be a little bit hotter than maybe some people are used to, which means there's going to be less grip in general. The lap that I ran, I believe, was a 131.1. Don't know if that's fast or slow, but it is what it is, and that's what I ran. So let's take a look at the lap as we go. So coming down the front straight at Mid-Ohio, it is not a long front straightaway, but it is enough to where you do get some speed going into turn one. And turn one is a very fast corner. So coming into turn one, my braking point that I'm looking for is just ahead of the 200 board that's on the right side here that you can see. So I am braking just before the 200 board, and then I am turning in right around the 100 board, or where this flag station is at the end of the fence line. So if we take it nice and smooth and slow, you can see right there, turning at the flag station. It's a long sweeping left-hander. We want to apex at the curbing as late as possible. I leave it in fourth gear around the corner because third gear, if I can get it down to third gear, it means I've probably overslowed the car. And there's also a lot of torque going through the rear wheels at the top of the RPM range. I'd rather be in fourth gear. It allows me to get to the gas a little sooner, a little bit heavier to help settle the car. So I tend to like fourth gear. You can let the car track out all the way up onto this curb. It's friendly. Just beware that if you go over, there is grass. And if you do go into the grass, straighten your wheel out, ride it out, come over the service road and bring it on nice and smooth. So coming down the second straightaway at Mid-Ohio, we're about to enter the chicane, which is usually not used in most iRacing runnings of Mid-Ohio. The chicane's a little bit different. Normally we would just have this straightaway that leads into the keyhole, but instead we've got a little right-left that we have to manage. In the GT4, you can actually drive the car quite deep in here. So if you look at my inputs, I've got full throttle, and I am at least on some portion of gas until the apex curbing on the first right-hander of the chicane. So we're going through. I've let up a little bit on the gas to get the nose turned in a bit. I add a little bit more gas on my way through, and then I use this first curbing as my braking point for the rest of the chicane. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to line the car up in a straight line between this curbing and the next curbing to get my braking done as short as way as possible to scrub the speed. So braking, straight line, get off the brakes as I turn in for the left side to make sure I'm transferring some of the weight of the car or some of the grip of the tires from braking into turning ability. And try to keep it nice and tight, hit the next curbing on the way out, and I've already started feeding on power about halfway through the chicane, and by the time I get to this point, I'm going to be getting on full throttle to lead me up into the keyhole. The shot up into the keyhole is very short. You can have a little bit of throttle to get a little bit of speed, but you do need to get on the brakes relatively soon to go around the keyhole. It is uphill, so that is helping you brake, but you do need to slow the car down quite significantly to get around the keyhole. Now, the keyhole is a very tight right-hand turn. The goal behind the keyhole is we will go in a little bit deep in the beginning, try to diamond the corner off, meaning that we're trying to get the turning done earlier so we can get a run coming out of the keyhole onto the longest straight of the track. We don't want to go too far across from over mid-track through the keyhole because the track actually starts falling away from us. And that's one of the things that makes the keyhole so difficult is the off-camber nature of the corner. There's not a lot of grip out there. The track runs away from us, so we need to somehow keep it tidy and get to our car pointed in the right direction so we can get on throttle to slingshot us through. So coming into the keyhole, I'm braking in a straight line. Here's the diamonding that I'm talking about. See how I'm letting the car run wide a little bit and then bringing it back in, starting to feed throttle on when I know that I'm going to make it, and then trying to get to full throttle as soon as possible to carry the momentum down the straightaway. Another aspect of the keyhole to remember is that when you're going through it, when you get on throttle, if you do it right, when you start to get on throttle, you'll never get back out of throttle. What I mean by that is when you've rotated the car and committed to getting on throttle, you should be feeding on throttle at that point forth. You shouldn't be turning in, letting off the throttle halfway through, because that's going to really slow your momentum coming through the corner. Going down the straightaway, it's a time to relax. This straightaway, it does have a turn in it. There is a kink about halfway down. You need to treat it as a turn, so apex it properly. It's denoted by these cones and this little access road here, but that's about the apex. And the GT4, you can take it from almost anywhere, but it is still a turn. Don't be on the left side of the track, get caught out, and run out of track. Coming down into China Beach, and it's called China Beach because on the other outside of the track there is a big beach, big gravel trap to prevent people or to protect people if they go run off the track from hitting the concrete wall further on. What I'm looking for here, my brake zone starts at this 400 board. It is a threshold braking zone. We are going from the highest speed on the track to a pretty low speed third gear corner. So I'll start braking at threshold. Notice how much brake I am using. I am in ABS because I'm going in a straight line and I'm trying to scrub this car as much as possible. Because scrub the speed on the car as much as possible. My goal on the turn-in point is to put my right side tires right up against to or even on the rumble strip at apex on the right hander. And then going through this corner, I want to use all the track on run out and let the car run all the way to track left. So if we go ahead and go through the video, we can see I'm trailing my braking in. My right tires get right on the rumble strip, and I'm actually back on throttle to try to get a little bit of throttle and a little bit more, keep my speed up, going through the corner to set up into what's called madness. So I actually did a Mid-Ohio school here with Brian Till. And one of the things he taught us in that school was he doesn't care what car it is. Every car will at least get to most throttle, if not full throttle, coming through this turn off the straightaway before they come into madness. And that the fastest way the data shows through this corner is to use all of the track out all the way to the left and throw away this second corner up over this hill. So that's why we are ending up all the way on track left, despite the next corner being a track, because we're a left-hander, because we're trying to carry as much speed through this portion as possible and extend that straightaway as long as possible. So coming up, we're going to be on track left, as I said. We will be doing more braking. It's uphill, so we can brake relatively quickly. We'll downshift to second gear, and we'll ride the inside of this curbing pretty much all the way around until the exit. So as you can see, I've downshifted to second. I'm riding the curbing around, and only at about the apex do I slowly start feeding on throttle. Coming out of this turn, this turn called madness, we don't want to go beyond mid-track on exit because we need to get the car left to set up for the right-hander that's further down the track. So if you see what I mean, I don't let the car run past mid-track, so this convenient middle stripe that you see here, don't take four wheels beyond that. Try to keep the middle center line of your car on that stripe at worst. So there you go. I've got it just a little bit past it, but I'm able to bring the car over to the left to set up for the next turn. Bring the car all the way up to the left. We're in third gear. Brake. Trying to apex on this curbing. If you get up on the curbing, it is okay. It's a friendly curb, and actually can help rotate the car on its way through. So one thing I want to demonstrate, and I'm actually going to back the video up a little bit to show this segment again, because it is the most complicated segment on the track. It's a bit like downhill skiing in a slalom. You're basically letting the car drift wide to set up to go the other way. So as we go through here, you'll see that nice and tight. I'll let the car run wide on the way out, as a downhill skier will do. Then set up to go right. Let the car settle on the left side, just like a downhill skier to go right, as you can see through there. Coming up under the Honda bridge, I'm in third gear. The car will want to drift out to the left because the momentum of the car has going through that past turn. I'm aiming for this rumble strip on the left, the yellow, run up my car up on it as much as possible, use it to try to straighten the kink out as much as possible. This curve is friendly. It's not a 1X. Use it. A lot of people, for some reason, don't like to use it. I don't understand why. There's also no need to get the car over to the right to go left here because this particular car is not powerful enough to prevent you from using full, if not full throttle, most throttle to get through here unscathed. Again, third gear through here. Notice I'm at full throttle. I may do a little lift, yeah, because the car will get a little unsettled as it's starting to go up the hill and the car's starting to get lighter. But once the car settles and I get it pointed in a straight line again, I can get back on full throttle. So back to full throttle again. I'll upshift to fourth at the top of the hill. And then coming into this next set of this next turn, which leads up to the blind turn 7 up over the hill. What I'm trying to do on this front is I'm trying to hit the curbing on the right, brake in a straight line from the curbing to this yellow curbing on the outside, use the yellow curbing on the outside, downshift to third, and then turn in for turn 7. So I'm going to play it uninterrupted to start so you can kind of get an idea, and then I'll back it up and talk in more detail. Touch the curbing here, brake in a straight line, light braking, downshift to third, up on the curbing again, touching the grass, coming over, and getting to the apex curbing on the exit. So it's almost like one big giant arc through there. All the inputs are very subtle because at this point the car is getting very light, which means it doesn't have a lot of traction. It comes down, it compresses again. We'll use a little bit of braking, but we don't want to brake too much and scrub too much speed off of here. Let the momentum take us all the way to track left. The car will naturally go there. Look how much braking I have. It's only like 15%, maybe 20% braking, but it's just enough to keep the car turned. Again, if you look at the road, everything is falling off to the left, which means that the car is trying to go to the left. There's no camber in the road helping us out. It's all the car and the tires grip that's enabling us to do that. So we can't make really large adjustments to the car's angle going through this section. We'll downshift to third right here. Get up on this curb. The more of the curb you can take, the better entry you'll have into turn 7. But just be careful. You don't want to drop 2 wheels in this grass. If you drop 2 wheels in this grass, it's game over. You're going to end up in the tire wall. So only take as much as you're comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable risking getting that close to the grass, you're more than welcome to keep it all 4 wheels on the tarmac. That's perfectly acceptable as well. Just know that the further you get on the rumble strip, the better angle you have into turn 7, which means it's another mile an hour or 2 that you can carry. So coming through here, we're going to try, as I showed before, use the right tires and touch the grass coming through. That is not a 1X, and it helps lengthen the corner a little bit to carry more speed. And then right here, what we're trying to do is we're actually looking for this right here. I call it the field goal. There's a gap in the trees. When we come over the hill, if our car is pointed at the gap of the trees, we'll be perfectly fine on the exit, and we can be at full throttle. If we are up here and we're pointed left of that gap, we're going to run out of track on the exit of the turn. If we are coming through here and we're pointed right at the trees, well, you've really late apexed it, and you probably could have taken more speed through the corner. So as you can see, coming up over the hill, pointing at the gap in the trees, and we can get on full throttle to go through. Coming through Thunder Valley, it's another little small straightaway. There is a right-hand turn through here. The next turn is a high-speed left-hander, 4th gear turn. I brake just after the 300 board, leading up to the 200 board. And then I will turn in at the end of the concrete little patch here where the grass starts. And it feels like an early apex. We don't want to late apex this one because by the time we've done that, the corner has kind of passed us by. You can turn in early here. You're looking for this rumble strip that's way out here in the distance. It's difficult to see in the car because it's a bit blind. You just have to trust that it is there. And if you do this turn really well, you will run your left 2 wheels just over the edge of the grass onto the rumble strip in 4th gear. Get back on the throttle. The car will drift out all the way to the rumble strip on the right. I could have actually gone a little faster here because I left this much, about half a car width available to me through here. But it is what it is. It's a risk thing. If you go too far and up in the grass, then it's game over. So your mileage may vary there. Coming into the final set of turns, I like to look at these in the distance. Again, it's a blind corner coming over the hill, so you can't really see what the corner is doing. But I like to use these grandstands in the distance as a marker. There's 2 of them. There's grandstand 1, there's a gap, there's grandstand 2. So after coming through that left-hand turn in 4th gear, I brake at the end of basically just after the end of the rumble strip here. And what I'm trying to do is, as I'm coming over the hill, I want the front of the car to point at the right grandstand. Brake early because all the track runs away from you after you get over the hill, so your braking ability is severely diminished the further on you get into the braking zone. And if I've pointed my car here, I'm continuing that rotation of the car through the corner. Like the keyhole, we'll let the car run a little bit wide, but not too much. Maybe just to where the dark tarmac is. Downshift to 2nd gear. Get up on this curbing. and try to get to a point where you can get on throttle as soon as possible and full throttle through this nice little kink over to the left over the line. So that's Mid-Ohio. It is a technical track. It is a deceptively fast track. It takes a lot of practice to get relatively quick here. So don't be discouraged if you're lacking speed your first time through. Just take sections of track and focus on it. Mid-Ohio really rewards car control, especially on turn 7, which is coming over that blind crest. The car will get a little bit loose. There's other sections here where the car is getting unloaded going over hills and blind corners. But it's a real driver's track. There's a lot of rhythm here. It's famous for a reason. It's been around for a long time. A lot of pro drivers really like this place, and I hope you do too. So again, my name is Chris Pies with the PCA Sim Racing Series. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave them in Discord, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. But other than that, our first practice is November 10th. If you are watching this video and you're not a member of the PCA Sim Racing Series and you are a Porsche Club of America member, it's free to join. Go to pcasimracing.com and take a look at our website. And if this is something that you want to do, follow the instructions there on how to sign up, and we welcome you to join us. We hold electronic driver's education events that are mirrored after the HPDE events that we have in real life. And we have a whole bunch of wonderful volunteers like myself who are willing to help get you up to speed to join our wonderful community of sim racers. So again, thank you for your time, and I will see you on November 10th. Until then, good racing.